Hello, good morning. Today is December 26th, 2025. I would like to share my art. This piece I call We Are Portals. We are portals. Uno. Who still likes this game? Me, I do. I still like this game. From the Book of Wisdom of the Apocrypha, from chapter 10, starting in verse 1. Wisdom kept watch over the world's first formed parent. When he alone had been created, she delivered him from his grave misstep. Wisdom gave him the strength to have dominion over everything. When the wicked man disregarded wisdom in his anger, he perished along with his desire to murder his brother. Because of him, the earth was flooded. Because of him, the earth was flooded. Wisdom again came to the rescue. She took a man who did what was right and steered him straight on a vessel made of cheap wood. When the people of the world were thrown into confusion by the combined forces of their wickedness, Wisdom found one who did what was right and kept him pure before God. She kept him, even made him stronger, when he would have been swayed by compassion for his child. When the ungodly were about to be wiped out, Wisdom saved a man who did what was right. He was unable to flee the fire. He was able to flee the fire that descended on the 5 cities. A smoking wasteland is all that remains, witnessing of their wickedness. Plants there never produce fully formed fruit. To this day, a pillar of salt still stands there as a reminder of the faithless beings. By trying to get along without wisdom, they didn't recognize what was good. In doing so, they left a lasting memorial of their foolishness for everyone to see to this day. They were unable to hide the things that led to their downfall, but wisdom rescues her servants from their trials. When a man who did what was right fled from his brother's anger, wisdom led him on a straight path, and she showed him God's kingdom and gave him the knowledge of holy things. She caused him to prosper through his handiworks and increase the fruit of his labors. When some, because of greed, sought to get the upper hand over him, she stood by him and made him even richer. She protected him from his enemies and kept him safe from those who set an ambush for him. She intervened on his behalf in a difficult contest so that he might know that godliness is more powerful than anything. When a man who did what was right was sold into slavery, she didn't abandon him. She rescued him from his ignorance. She even went down into the pits of hell with him. She didn't forsake him when he was in chains. In the end, she obtained for him the symbol of kingly rule and authority over those who would have ruled over him. She showed him that those who had accused him were liars. She gave him eternal glory. Wisdom rescued a holy people and a pure generation from the grip of people who were crushing them. She entered the souls of those who served the Lord. She enabled them to oppose terrifying kings by means of signs and wonders. She rewarded the holy ones for their labors and led them along a wonderful route. She became a shelter for them by day and a flaming shower of stars by night. She carried them across the Red Sea and led them through deep waters. She drowned their enemies and accused and caused the depths to boil over them. The people who did what was right then stripped the ungodly of their weapons. All together they sang hymns to your holy name, O Lord. They praised your hand, which had defended and fought for them. Wisdom opens the mouth of those who cannot speak, and puts clear words on the tongues of even infants. From the Book of Wisdom, chapter 17, Darkness and Fire. Your judgments are great and difficult to explain. This is why those who haven't been well taught go astray. When lawless people tried to oppress your holy nation, in actual fact they were the prisoners who were being held in a dark place, bound in chains through a long night. They were confined to their own homes as they vainly tried to flee from a plan that had been prepared for all of eternity. They thought that they could hide from their sins by pulling a blanket of forgetfulness over themselves. But instead they were scattered in every direction, terrified by fear and spooked by nightmarish visions. They hid themselves in the deepest corners of their houses, but couldn't escape from their fears. Even there they heard all around them the sounds that terrified them even more. Mournful ghosts from gloomy faces appeared to them. No fire gave them any light, nor did the stars' light shine brightly enough to illuminate that horrible night. Only once did anything shine through. It was a frightening fire that seemed to have a life of its own. But then, when they had lost sight of that light, they were even more afraid than they had been before they had seen it. They began to realize that what they had seen was even worse than what they had thought it was. They realized that their mocking attempts at magic were too weak and that they had no real power. It became clear to them that they had given themselves far too much credit for understanding what was happening. Those who had thought they could dispel fears and free sick beings from terrors became sick themselves with a laughable case of nerves. You know who you are. Even when there was nothing around to frighten them, they were scared by the simple sounds of animals' movements and hissing serpents trembling. They were dying with fright, shutting their eyes even against the empty air, as if they could thus avoid what was scaring them. Wickedness is cowardly, condemned by its own witness. Distressed by the conscience, the wicked person thinks everything is worse than it actually is. Fear betrays our ability to help ourselves by thinking clearly. Expecting the worst, people prefer to remain ignorant of the cause of their torment. The night itself was powerless, rising up from the darkest corners of hell that didn't really exist. As they slept the same sleep, monsters from their own imaginations rose up and hunted them down. They were paralyzed with fear as their spirits failed them. A sudden and unexpected fear drenched their whole being. All who fell into that kind of place became like prisoners, locked up in cells without metal bars. Whether they were farmers or shepherds or laborers toiling alone in the desert, the same fate overtook them all, and they were all bound in the darkness as by one single chain. Whether it was the whispering of the wind, or the sound of the birds singing in the thick branches of the trees out in the forest, or the rhythm of rushing waters against the rocks from a high cliff, or the unseen scurrying of little animals, or the howling of the most frightening of beasts, or an echo from the valley between the hills where it whistled, whatever it was, it frightened them so much that they were completely paralyzed. So while bright sunlight lit up the rest of the world, and people and things went about their ordered, active lives, an oppressive night lay all around them, and around them alone. And it was a sign of the darkness that they had created that was going to receive them. But they were a heavier burden to themselves than even to the darkness itself. So,